Hey, welcome to the weekend, and today I want to talk to you about mind-muscle connection, and is it real? And if it is real, what the hell does that mean? Well, yes, it's very, very real, and yes, it's very, very important to you if you fancy yourself a would-be bodybuilder of any type or any level, or whatever it is you're trying to do. If you're trying to build more muscle, then it's important. Let's think of it this way in simple terms. Everything fires along neurological pathways in the body, right? I mean, even if I reach over here to lift a cup up, I'm going to pick up this little monkey cup here. One of my favorite coffee cups, actually. I pick this fucking monkey cup up. Oh, excuse me, YouTube. This frigging monkey cup up, and you don't even give it a second thought, but if you stop to consider it, there's a whole lot of stuff going on involved in that action. For me to, all the muscles that have to contract to move my bones and my skeleton and reach over and grab it, besides all the spatial relationship type of stuff and that coordinative BS. Besides all that, just the muscles that are involved. The mind has to, is in control of all of this stuff. Everything that happens, right? The skeleton, it's not like in these Halloween shows where you see the dancing skeletons and stuff. With no muscles, the skeleton's not doing anything. It's not doing any dancing. It's all about muscles. So it's all about contractions, and it's like tons of contractions all put together, and how much, when, and to what extent, and so forth and so on, for you to accomplish even the simplest of tasks. And this is something that's developed over just practice. Redundancy is what develops it. If you look at a baby, a newborn baby, of course they don't have the strength or any of that. They're dealing with all kind of other impingement factors as far as they are new to the body and new out into this world, and they don't have the strength and the muscles developed yet to support anything. But beside that, putting that aside, which is enormous, but putting that aside, just their lack of coordinative ability, to move and control their bodies, the control that they have over their bodies as they learn to walk and as they learn to roll over and sit up and crawl and all these things they figure out and they learn. A lot of it's going on, they're just figuring out, I want to get from here to there and this is how I can do it, and so forth and so on, sure. But the brain has to be able to call into action all these different muscles and be able to contract all these muscles and coordinate this effort just to crawl or just to motivate or just to reach and grab something and grasp something. So as the mind finds the pathways, finds the way to send the impulses, the electrical stimulation, the electrical stimuli along the neurological system that's going to fire these muscles, right? Because it's all electricity. Then through redundancy of attempt and failure and attempt and somewhat failure and just over and over and over again, you become more skilled and more adept at, and you gain better control of your muscles until you get to where we are today, most of us, and barring any unforeseen misadventures like traumatic brain injuries and the like, or any other type of neurological injury or impairment. For most of us, we don't put any thought into it. We can make a pot of coffee, we can drive a car, we can do all kinds of stuff that we don't really think about how complicated it actually is. And the body, the brain, it's the connection, the mind-muscle connection that enables this to be so. And so when you go and pick up weights and you begin to work out for the first time, now remember this, think about this. If you can remember back to the very first time you laid on a flat bench and attempted to barbell press something, or even laid on a flat bench and attempted to dumbbell press, a couple of dumbbells, how all the instability and how uncoordinated the movement was, because you can't call into task. Now, yeah, sure, it's also partially because these these assistance and stabilizing muscles and things are underdeveloped or undeveloped. But, are they really? Not so much. I mean, by the time you've come into adulthood, there's been tons of circumstances, you trip, you fall, you catch yourself unexpectedly. There's all kind of things that happen that there shouldn't be a whole lot left undeveloped as far as your access and your ability to fire these muscles. But yet, when you lay down on that bench for the first time with a set of dumbbells, it's very, there's not much stability, it's very awkward, it's difficult. And part of the first thing you have to overcome is you just learn the movement. And as you are learning the movement, the brain kind of is laying these pathways, these well-laid pathways. And the longer, you go through this repetitive movement of curling and pressing and squatting and leg extensions and leg curls and whatever movement you're doing, deadlifting and every other thing, the more you do it, supposedly, hopefully, the better laid these neurological pathways become, and the greater your ability to access the musculature that you own. So the advantage in that is when you get to, somewhere along the way, midway into your workout career or whatever, as you want to put it, you should be able to isolate you're going to be able to isolate to a greater degree, far greater degree than what you'd have been capable of doing if on the first day you picked up a weight, somebody said, hey, can you just, this is just going to work your lats, you want to keep your arms out of it as much as possible, and well, that won't make a lot of sense to you initially. Right? Because there's not much you can do about it. You're just pulling on a bar, you're just doing a lat pull down, and your body's just, the goal is just to pull the bar down to your chest or wherever you're pulling it to, and that's it. But as you become better developed, as far as neuromuscularly, then you should be able to actually access the lat muscles themselves and be able to cut a lot of that bicep assistance out, and pretty much focus and develop a feel that you can contract the lat, the target muscle, and actually have that lat pull rather than you're just pulling your elbows back and pulling the bar down, and you're using whatever, array of musculature you can possibly involve just to get it done. So no, eventually, you start out that way. That's kind of a default. And then as you progress and become better schooled and your body more learned as far as these neurological pathways, you have better access supposedly. And then you can begin to truly focus and concentrate and get your mind in to place the stress, the greater amount of stress the exercise is designed to deliver to a specific target area and limit the amount of spillage that occurs over into more undesirable areas. Like you're not really trying to build your biceps when you're training your back. And in fact, since the biceps are going to be a weak point, because the back is going to be much more powerful, capable of much more work than the biceps are, the biceps are your limiting factor. So if you can't get the biceps, if you can't activate the lats to a greater degree than a beginner, then you're going to be underdeveloped probably in the back area, unless you're like super genetically blessed in that area, because when the biceps give out, they're the weakest chain in the link. You're never going to get the load onto the back, in a lot of exercises, because you're pulling with the biceps, right? If you can't get your mind back there. So, part of it is you have to have the muscle to be able to activate the muscle. And of course you all have all these muscles, everybody does. But the more you develop the muscle physiologically, the larger the muscle, you're going to be able to get more of your mind into it and have better control. What I mean by that is, if you have no lats basically to speak of, it's much, much more difficult for you to really feel those lats activate and flex and contract than if those lats are much better developed and a little more grown. It's a little easier for you to get your mind into it, especially things like deltoids, right? I mean, my rear delts are pretty well developed, and the medials and the anterior, posterior, and medial are very well developed. So I can pretty much feel each individual head. I can find angles and things that I can feel the stress is targeting each specific head more so than the others. You know, the one that is actually the primary mover for any given shoulder exercise that I may be trying to perform, with the hopes of focusing in and delivering more stress to one head over another. Same with triceps and all these other things. So really, when you get this mind-muscle connection, all that is that you're consciously aware of it. You're not, you know, like we go about on autopilot normally. You go outside, if you trip to fall, you don't have to give a whole bunch of thought to how you're going to catch yourself and quickly assess the situation, and you know, where are you going to land and what's over here to grasp onto versus what are you going to strike if I fall over here, and right? You're not consciously aware of any of this. You're on autopilot. But all these things, all these decisions, all this stuff is being collated and processed in your brain, just instantaneously almost. And the brain then fires the musculature that's involved in whatever your, you know, whatever your comeback from that stumble might be. So it's very complicated without us actually thinking about it. But in bodybuilding, what we're hoping to do is think about it. No autopilot. We're hoping that we want to get our brain in there, get the mind in there, so that we can really feel where the majority of the stress is going in any given exercises. So if I'm not trying to perform just a compound exercise, and even when I perform compound exercises, I feel the muscles that are involved. I'm just programmed that way now. But when I do a lot of, the reason you get really good separation and pop in the muscles, besides all the other factors, besides, you know, how much glycogen and where the insertion points are, and you know how, you know, that you're blessed with really big full bellies in the muscle. Beside all that, there's another factor, and that is that you have the ability to actually limit the spillover of the stress into unwanted areas and more precisely focus in on your target muscle. And that's going to enable you to build a better balanced physique. So you want to be on board, and you want to pay attention to this mind-muscle connection. You want to get your head in there. You want to feel that muscle contract. You want to really squeeze that muscle, whatever the target muscle may be. And hopefully, after enough time and training, you're able to do that. Now here's an exercise you can practice anywhere, basically. You're going to need to be in particular positions to make it, you know, to make it easier to do it, or maybe impossible to do it in some positions, that, you know, forever. And sometimes at first it may be impossible in some positions, and then as you get better at it with this mind-muscle connection, you can still do it. You'll find that you have a better control over the musculature. And what that is, you know, people just flex their chest, right? Just pop your chest, right? Flex your pecs, right? Well, you can do that with almost any muscle. Some people can do it with pretty much almost every muscle that you can think of, or that you would want to, or that we're considering when we're considering developing muscles for a nice balanced physique. So when you're sitting at the table and your arms on the table, right, just think about like a calf, okay? Don't think inner versus outer or whatever at first. Just think about the calf and see if you can flex that calf. Can you make that flex, you know, make that calf bounce up and down like somebody would flex their pecs? Can you do it? Just focus on it and try and do it. Maybe move your foot a little bit, change the position. Try and find, is there a way that you can bounce that calf? And then just run through a quick list and see how many muscles can you flex. Can you pop your bicep up and down without the arm actually moving? Can you flex a tricep? Can you flex your trap, for instance? Can you make your trap bounce up and down? You know, I can. Can you make your quad bounce up and down while you're sitting in the chair? I can. Right? So some muscles you're going to be surprised that you're going to be able to do it. Other muscles you ain't going to have any luck at all. But if you keep practicing this exercise, you know, here and there, slowly but surely you're going to gain better control over a whole lot of that. And the proof, as always, is in the pudding. Because one day you're going to say, wow, I can actually bounce that quad just in this position. Or wow, I can sit here and bounce that hamstring, and I could never do that before. You know, same with the calves. You'll eventually get to where you can bounce the inner calf versus the outer calf. You may have to move your foot, change your position to be able to get to a spot where you can get to that muscle and you can make it actually activate. But without moving the rest of your body, you know, you're not going to be jumping your arm all over the place and shit like somebody's shocking you with fucking electricity. You just want to pop that muscle up and down. So if you sit there and practice this, okay, may sound kind of stupid, but it has its advantage. If you just sit there See how many muscles can you pop up and down, just like you would, flex your chest. How many muscles can you flex without moving, with completely trying to not move anything else but that muscle? How much can you isolate, get your mind in there and contract that particular target muscle? And the better you get at that, that's what you want to be doing when you're lifting. It's what you want to be doing. If you get to where you can pop that trap, or you can pop a lat, which is a hard one, but it can be done. If you can find a way to do that, then you just reproduce that positioning with whatever piece of equipment you're using and make that happen. Same thing, the same feeling. Get your head in there the same way. Same way you sit there and pop those, pecs up and down. You want to feel that. You want to have that same control when you're benching, dumbbells, whatever you're doing, flies. You want to have that brain still in there and doing the same thing. And that is going to give you a better developed physique. I guarantee it. You'll find it to be true for yourself. And it is also going to give you a better delineated and separated physique. So, and there's going to be people that are going to tell you, no, oh no, that sounds like bullshit. Really? Well, let me see. How many muscles can you do that with? How many can you do that with? Just ask them that. Really, have you tried it? Right? See, some people want to believe everything they read. They want people to tell them what they're capable of and not capable of. Oh, am I capable of this? No, I'm sorry, you can't do that. Oh, shucks, well, no sense in even trying, right? That's not the way it works. That's not the way it works, all right? So, that's it for now. Mind-muscle connection, very real thing, very important thing, very useful thing. I thought that it was just a given. Everybody knows that it's real. Everybody knows it's a very important and very useful tool, and you want your mind in there. You want to be able to gain as much access to the musculature that you possess as possible. Try and see.